Power, real power, is often misunderstood in today's world. We live in an age that glorifies noise, where power is mistaken for being loud, constantly visible, endlessly validated. People think it's about who talks the most, who posts the most, who gets the most attention, but true power, and the kind that reshapes lives, commands respect, and builds legacies, isn't loud, it's silent, it's focused, it's controlled. The most dangerous man in the room isn't the one raising his voice, it's the one who stays calm, who watches, who waits. He doesn't boast, he doesn't explain, he doesn't need permission, because he knows something ancient, something timeless. Silence is a weapon, a shield, a strategy, a sign of mastery. This isn't a new discovery. Some of the most powerful men to ever walk this earth lived by this truth. The Spartans were feared not just for their strength, but for their restraint, their discipline in speech and action. Marcus Aurelius, one of the wisest emperors in Roman history, ruled not by screaming commands, but by mastering his inner world. And Julius Caesar, before crossing the Rubicon and changing history, made his greatest moves in quiet deliberation, not in public display. They knew what many men have forgotten today. Noise is a distraction, silence is control. When you move in silence, you stop broadcasting your intent. You stop performing for the crowd. You stop seeking applause for actions not yet finished. Instead, you build, you evolve, you rise. And when the world finally notices, it's already too late for them to stop you. So let me ask you this: do you want to be heard, or do you want to be remembered? In this video, we'll explore why the man who moves in silence holds the most power. We'll uncover ancient Stoic truths, study the quiet strategies of history's greatest leaders, and give you actionable, powerful ways to walk the same path in your own life. By the end of this, you'll understand not just why silence is strength, but how to wield it like a sword. Like, share, and subscribe if you're ready to tap into the deeper side of discipline, power, and purpose. And drop a comment below. What does silence mean to you? Let's begin. 1. The ancient power of silence. To understand the true strength of silence, we must begin where discipline was carved into stone and steel of the ancient world. In those times, silence was not a void, it was not passivity, it was power, it was restraint, sharpened into a weapon. It was in the silence that the most powerful civilizations forged their men. It was in silence that warriors trained, philosophers wrote, and kings ruled. To speak less meant you had mastered more. And to master silence was to master yourself. The Spartans. Brevity as a blade. Among all ancient societies, none embodied this truth more than the Spartans. The Spartan way of life was built on discipline, self-control, and strength, not just of body, but of mind. Their communication style gave rise to a word we still use today: laconic. To speak in a laconic manner meant your words were few, but they carried the weight of mountains. In Sparta, speaking too much was not just frowned upon, it was a sign of weakness. Men were trained to say only what was necessary and nothing more. Why? Because the man who feels the need to talk constantly is often hiding his insecurity behind words. But the man who says little and means every syllable is a man you pay attention to. There's a legendary tale that captures this perfectly. King Philip II of Macedon, father of Alexander the Great, once sent a message to the Spartans. "If I enter Laconia, I will destroy your city." The Spartan reply was as cutting as a sword. One word: if. That was their answer. No threats, no declarations, no emotional reaction, just a reminder that true warriors don't speak. They act. And when they do speak, every word is a blow. That's the essence of real power, when silence becomes so potent that it makes others second-guess their own strength. The Romans, inner empire, outer silence. As we move forward to the Roman Empire, we find this same principle alive and well, this time in the heart of philosophy and leadership. One man embodied it more than any other, Marcus Aurelius. Aurelius ruled not just an empire, but himself. His leadership wasn't fueled by grand speeches or dramatic displays. He was a man of thought, not noise, action, not spectacle. His famous journal, Meditations, was never intended for the world. It was a private exercise in self-discipline, a blueprint for inner mastery. In it, he wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Receive without pride, let go without attachment." These are not the words of a man who sought validation. These are the reflections of a man who understood that ego is noise, but wisdom is quiet. He didn't rule through intimidation or constant self-promotion. He led by example, with calmness in chaos, with reason in rage, with silence in storms. Where others sought to be seen, he sought to be. And because of that, he remains one of history's most respected emperors. The lesson: power comes from self-mastery. What do the Spartans and Marcus Aurelius have in common? They were men of control, men of conviction, men who didn't need the world's approval because they had already conquered themselves. Their silence wasn't empty. It was intentional. It wasn't fear. It was focus. It wasn't weakness. It was the deepest form of strength, and that is the call for every man today, to reclaim the ancient wisdom of silence, to stop seeking attention and start earning respect, to stop reacting and start reflecting. Drop a comment. What's one situation in your life where you could practice more silence to demonstrate true power? 2. Strategic silence: how quiet men win the game. In today's world, where everyone seems to be competing for attention, silence has become a rare yet powerful commodity. The modern age is dominated by noise, social media updates, public declarations, endless chatter. The louder you are, the more visible you become. But here's the catch: visibility doesn't always equate to power. In fact, sometimes it does the opposite. The more you speak, the more you reveal your weaknesses. The more you share, the less mystery you hold, and mystery is what makes you dangerous. Julius Caesar, the master of waiting. Let's look at one of the greatest tacticians in history, Julius Caesar. Before he became the ruler of the Roman Empire, he knew that the key to power was not making noise or seeking attention. It was about silence, patience, and calculated moves. Caesar did not announce his ambitions. He didn't jump into the spotlight. He worked in the shadows, quietly building alliances, carefully making decisions, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. This can be seen most dramatically in his crossing of the Rubicon. In 49 BC, when Caesar crossed the Rubicon River with his army, he made a fateful decision that would change history. He knew this action would put him in direct defiance of the Roman Senate, but he didn't hesitate. The moment he crossed, he said, "The die is cast." This wasn't a brash, emotional decision. It was the result of years of strategic silence. Caesar had worked behind the scenes, quietly positioning himself for power. He understood that the most dangerous thing you can do is announce your every move. Instead, you let others underestimate you, stay quiet about your intentions, and then strike when they least expect it. This is the essence of strategic silence. It's not about hiding out of fear. It's about building power, influence, and control, and waiting for the moment when your move will have the greatest impact. The power of restraint in the modern world. In today's world, the principle of strategic silence is just as important. We live in an era where we can tweet every thought, post every opinion, and broadcast every moment of our lives. But the man who does this risks drowning in the noise. He loses his power by constantly seeking attention. The quiet man, however, moves differently. He doesn't announce his plans to the world. He doesn't waste time defending himself or justifying his actions. Instead, he moves in silence, making decisions that speak for themselves. He understands that silence doesn't mean weakness, it's a strategic advantage. By practicing silence, you become unpredictable. You keep your thoughts and intentions to yourself until the moment is right to share them. You don't give away your plans, you act when the time is perfect, and the world has no choice but to react to you. This approach isn't just for military commanders or political figures like Caesar. It's for anyone who wants to reclaim their power in any aspect of life. In business, the quieter, more observant man often wins the deal because he listens more than he speaks. In relationships, the man who doesn't need to constantly explain his feelings holds a unique sense of control, letting his actions and integrity build trust over time. Even in personal development, the quiet man doesn't seek external validation. He focuses on internal growth, letting the results of his efforts speak for themselves. The mental shift, power in restraint. Strategic silence is a mindset. It's about being in control of your words and actions. It's about making sure you speak only when necessary and act only when it's time. When you stop feeling the need to broadcast your intentions, you take back control of your energy. You stop feeding the noise and start creating a space where your silence holds weight. In today's world, this quiet strength gives you an edge. It makes you more observant, more in control, and less likely to be manipulated by outside forces. You don't need to explain yourself because your actions will eventually show everyone exactly who you are. Are you withholding valuable information and letting your actions speak louder than your words? Drop a comment. What's one area of your life where you could benefit from moving in silence? 3. Emotional control. The silent warrior's inner fortress. If you cannot rule yourself, you will always be ruled by the world. This is the cornerstone of true power. Silence is not merely about holding your tongue. It's not just about choosing not to speak. Silence is a state of mind. It is a weapon of emotional mastery, a way of being that requires the ability to control your most primal impulses. The man who can move in silence, the man who remains composed, has already conquered his own mind and emotions. Without this inner control, silence is not strength. It is fear. The true warrior is not the one who yells the loudest or throws the biggest tantrums. The real warrior is the one who, when provoked, does not flinch. The one who, in the midst of chaos and turmoil, stands still, calculating, calm. He is unshakable because he has already mastered his internal world. The Stoic fortress. Within the Stoics, those ancient philosophers who were also warriors understood something that many men today fail to grasp. The only true freedom a man can have is mastery over his own mind. Seneca, one of the most respected Roman philosophers and statesmen, wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." This powerful idea explains how so many men become prisoners of their emotions. They react impulsively to every insult, they give into rage at the slightest challenge, and they make decisions based on fleeting emotions rather than disciplined thinking. But not the Stoic man. He sees emotions for what they are, messengers, not masters. When anger arises, he does not succumb. He observes. He doesn't fight his emotions, but neither does he allow them to control him. Emotions are like clouds, and they come and go, and the Stoic lets them pass without letting them alter his course. This is the essence of becoming untouchable. You do not respond to disrespect with desperation. You do not waste energy explaining yourself to the ignorant. You do not trade emotional outbursts for temporary satisfaction. Instead, you act with discipline, with presence, and with control. The timeless power of emotional discipline. This is exactly why ancient warriors, like the Spartans and Roman generals, was so feared. They didn't fight from emotion, they fought from calculation. When facing an enemy, the Spartan warriors didn't scream or make noise. They didn't give in to fear or panic. They were efficient, cold under pressure, silent. And because of this, they were nearly impossible to break. Their silence in battle wasn't an absence of emotion, it was the mastery of emotion. It was a deep inner fortress they carried with them into the heart of the storm. Modern warfare, emotional discipline. Today, in today's world, the battlefield is no longer physical, it's mental, it's emotional, and it's ongoing. When someone offends you, can you hold your tongue? When someone doubts you, can you stay focused on your mission? When the world is pushing you to react, can you offer stillness? The silent warrior today isn't just immune to physical attacks, he is immune to emotional manipulation. He is unreachable by petty insults, unmoved by distractions, unshaken in the face of setbacks. This doesn't mean he is cold or indifferent, quite the opposite. A silent warrior is contained. He doesn't erupt because he doesn't need to. His purpose is louder than his pain. His mission silences the noise around him. The greatest warriors, past and present, aren't those who scream the loudest. They are the ones who have learned that internal peace is the greatest weapon, building the inner fortress. This is the fortress you must build within yourself, the one that no external force can breach. It's not built overnight. It takes constant practice. It takes discipline. But once it's built, once you've learned to control your reactions and thoughts, nothing can destroy it. You will find that your silence will be more powerful than any emotional outburst. Your presence will carry more weight than any rant or argument. And you'll have something that most people crave but can never find: true inner freedom. Drop a comment. What's one emotion you're learning to control, and how has it improved your life? 4. The discipline of stillness, building without applause. In a world addicted to validation, stillness is rebellion. Today, most men are driven by the desire for recognition. They want to be seen. They want likes, shares, followers. They want the world to witness every action, every achievement, every small victory. In short, they seek applause. But the man who moves in silence, he doesn't chase applause. He builds alone. He doesn't seek recognition. He doesn't wait for validation, because he knows this truth. The reward is in the work, not in the reaction. The power of stillness. Stillness is often misunderstood. In a world where everyone is loud, where attention is the currency, stillness can easily be mistaken for laziness or passivity. But stillness is anything but lazy. Stillness is discipline. Stillness is the man who understands that the most important work is done in the shadows, in solitude, away from the spotlight. He is focused, not distracted by applause, but absorbed in the mastery of his craft. It's easy to get caught up in the world's noise, the constant need for approval, the thirst for attention. But the silent builder, the quiet creator, knows better. He understands that true growth, the kind that leads to lasting success, happens away from the crowd. And in the long run, the world will come to recognize his greatness, not because he asked for it, but because his results will speak for themselves. The Stoic virtue of stillness. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher and former slave, offered a lesson in stillness that still resonates today. He believed that the mind should be as calm as a still sea, unaffected by the storm around it. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, don't seek validation. Don't let the opinions of others drown out your internal voice. When you move in stillness, people will underestimate you. They will ridicule your silence. They will mock your quiet resolve. Let them, because when your results finally emerge, they will speak so loudly that all their doubts and criticisms will fall silent. This is the core of Stoic philosophy, that the internal must come before the external, that the work done in solitude is far more valuable than the praise and recognition sought in public. Historical examples. The builders behind empires. Look at the real builders of empires, not the ones who sought fame, but those who worked tirelessly in the shadows, leaving a legacy that still endures today. Leonardo da Vinci. He spent years in silence, sketching designs for inventions and creating works of art without a single public mention. He was decades ahead of his time. His work was largely unknown during his life, but it has shaped the world forever. Nikola Tesla, the inventor who died in poverty and isolation while his work was appropriated by others. Yet his silence, his refusal to demand recognition, has left a legacy so powerful that even today the world celebrates his genius. George Washington, the first President of the United States and a general who led the country to victory in its fight for independence. He refused power multiple times, choosing a life of quiet service over fame. His legacy, however, commands respect greater than any man who ever sought the spotlight. These men knew a fundamental truth: do not chase applause, chase excellence. The world will recognize you when it's time. The long game, building for legacy. Stillness is the secret to long-term success. Applause is fleeting, it's short-lived, it's gone as quickly as it came. But legacy is eternal. Legacy is built not in the hustle for recognition, but in the quiet discipline that comes with doing the work without needing to be seen. And the best part, legacy doesn't need to be advertised. When you wake up before everyone else to work while others sleep, when you study while others party, when you sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term vision, that's stillness, that's discipline, that's power, finding strength in silence. The world may not see you, but you see yourself, and that's all that matters. You are building a life that doesn't need to be advertised. When it's done, it will be undeniable. The quiet work you do today will speak volumes tomorrow. Drop a comment. What's one area in your life where you've been seeking validation instead of focusing on silent discipline? 5. Becoming the silent giant, the final transformation. There comes a time in every man's life when he no longer seeks to prove himself. This doesn't happen because he's given up, but because he has become. He no longer chases applause, he no longer reacts to disrespect, he no longer explains his vision to those with limited sight. He doesn't seek to be seen because he doesn't need to be seen to be significant. He has reached a level of transformation that makes him unshakable. He has become the silent giant, a figure who walks quietly but whose presence reverberates through the world. The silent giant doesn't need permission. A man becomes truly powerful when he recognizes that he doesn't need to announce his worth to the world. He no longer needs the validation of others, nor does he feel the need to justify his path. Instead, he simply does the work, day after day, quiet, focused, relentless in discipline. This is the essence of the silent giant, a man who moves with such steady resolve that the world notices him only when it's too late for them to stop him. When you stop needing the approval of others, when you stop responding to every critic, when you cease to give energy to every battle, you transform into something that cannot be moved, something that remains unshaken no matter the external chaos. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful emperors the world has ever known, lived his life governed by this principle. Despite ruling the most powerful empire on earth, he never lost the power to rule himself. He didn't seek status or glory. He didn't crave validation from others. Instead, he wrote daily in private to keep his ego in check, to remind himself that greatness is not about fame or recognition, but about responsibility and self-mastery. He said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." And that is the call to action for you too. Don't tell the world who you are. Don't announce your greatness. Become it, quietly, relentlessly, unapologetically. The man who cannot be moved. When you've built your inner world strong enough, the external world becomes irrelevant. You no longer flinch when tested. You no longer react when provoked. You no longer chase things that add no value to your life. You are no longer a boy trying to impress the crowd. You are a man building a legacy. The silent giant is patient. He understands that storms will come, that enemies will rise, that the world will try to break him. But he remains unbothered, for he knows that storms always pass, and enemies always fall. He is not afraid of chaos, because he has built peace within himself. His internal world is his strongest ally. When he moves, it is not to seek attention, but with intention. Are you living in a way that demands attention or respect? Ask yourself, are you living in a way that demands attention, or are you living in a way that demands respect, even in silence? Starting today, commit to becoming the man who doesn't need the world to notice him. Let your success be the noise. Let your stillness be your strength. Build in the shadows. Work tirelessly, without the need for public approval. Walk in silence, and when the time is right, let the world feel the impact of everything you've been preparing for in the quiet. Drop a comment. What is one thing you're going to start building in silence today that will define your future? Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. It is not passive. It is powerful. It is not hiding. It is harnessing. And the man who masters silence, who controls his mind, who builds without needing recognition, holds the most power. This video has given you the mindset, the strategy, and the philosophy to walk that path. Now the choice is yours. Like this video if it resonated with you. Share it with a man who needs this message. Subscribe for more deep, powerful content grounded in ancient Stoic wisdom. And drop a comment below, but let us know how you're applying the power of silence in your life. Remember, the loudest man in the room may get the attention, but the quietest man often holds the throne. Keep building. Keep moving in silence. And when your time comes, let the world hear your results speak louder than anything you've ever said.